There is no way that he just said this, but Brad Stevens at his press conference today, talking about the trades for Kristaps Porziņģis and Jrue Holiday, revealed his master plan for the Celtics free agency and gave some clues on the Al Horford situation. Plus, the Celtics Summer League roster was announced today, and there are some surprising names that you might not know, but have had some NBA experience that could be some undermined gems or diamonds in the rough for this team to explore with potential two-way contracts or even some guaranteed deals, as we've seen guys like Neemish Queta and J.D. Davidson go from two ways to guaranteed contracts these past 2 seasons. So we're going to dive in and explore all the latest revolving around the Boston Celtics here on this episode of Celtics Digest. I am Bruce Veliz, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic, showing your love and support down below in the comment section, letting us know your thoughts on this Boston Celtics team. So I encourage you to let us know your guys' thoughts on the recent updates that we have here for you guys today, and who intrigues you from this Summer League roster as well. As you guys already know, we hit our goal of 7,000 subscribers, but we're not slowing down here on Celtics Digest. So if you want to make sure to help us out, make sure to continue to hit that subscribe button, as 64% of you guys who watch these videos are not subscribed. Without further ado, let's dive in and let's get into the news at hand today. Make sure to grab that snack and let's get into it. As this is tough to hear for the Boston Celtics, and a little bit of an alternative was explained from Brad Stevens, as well as, like I mentioned, his master plan has been revealed, and we have some clear cues about what the Celtics team could be looking like next season. If we want to dive in and explore the latest updates from Al Horford on this Celtics side of things, it does seem like the Celtics are not likely to bring back Al Horford, as Brad Stevens says that getting Al Horford back is unlikely at this point, but the Celtics obviously made him and Luke Kornet both offers here in free agency. We all know Luke Kornet went and signed with the San Antonio Spurs. He had his introductory press conference yesterday, making some laughs and bringing some jokes there already, and it's sad to see Luke Kornet in another jersey, but once again, wishing the best for Luke Kornet over in San Antonio. But regardless to Al Horford, from Brad Stevens' mouth, it does seem like the Celtics retaining the big man here is very unlikely. Now, we've heard from Adam Himmelsbach yesterday, he's still mulling those decisions of potentially going back to Boston, maybe going to Denver. Golden State's been that team that's been really linked to him, or possibly even retirement. And it does seem like now at this point, it is less likely that Boston is going to be that home for Al Horford next season, which is very, very tough to hear as a Boston Celtics fan, someone that's grown up with Al Horford and rooting for him not only the first time he was here, but also the second time, and seeing him get to that NBA championship. We all want to see Horford retire a Celtic, but with Jayson Tatum getting injured and the Celtics having to look to shed some salary, it does look like Horford might be going elsewhere. And then, courtesy of Jack Simone from How About Them Celtics, and a guest that's we've luckily been able to have here on the channel, he was there and he got this quote from Brad Stevens talking about the other centers in that group rotation and how they're going to kind of work to figure out those holes that are missing with Al Horford and Luke Kornet here. And Brad Stevens says, we're going to find out, right? I think we've had an incredible luxury with Luke and Nimi as our third and fourth centers, because I think they were both much better than what they were representative on this roster. And I think Luke will have an amazing impact in San Antonio, and I think Nimi has a great chance to be impactful here. We've always liked Luka Garza from afar, and I think he has the real physicality that's necessary on both ends of the floor, especially on the glass, in addition to his ability to score. And then we got Amari, who's down there now at the Summer League practice, and we think that he has some high upside. And then you can flex other guys into that center role. Tillman is more of a 4 probably, but he can flex into that center role, and so we'll have to use that by committee. They will not be that group that people will single out based on paper or what they've done with their careers thus far as our strongest position, but it's up to them to prove it otherwise. And I like to hear that coming from Brad Stevens. It kind of lets us know that something that I maybe alluded to with Tillman and Nimi being out there on the trade market doesn't seem to be likely the case, as both of those guys will be back brought here in Boston. And like I've said here on the channel, since day one, since Neemish Queta was signed to this roster, I've been a big believer in him of being a potential backup center for the Celtics team. And maybe this is the year he gets to show that case, have a little bit of a rising season like Luke Kornet did last year when Kristaps Porziņģis was out, when he stepped into the starting lineup and looked pretty solid. We saw Nimi share some of those reins last year. In some games, he looked really good. Some games, he didn't look the greatest. But now, with having a whole offseason of preparing and having that maturity of knowing that he needs to step up, maybe that's something we can see with Neemish Queta. Now, once again, I'm not fully 100% bought into it. I'm going to have to see it on the court and how Nimi looks comparative to last season, and if he's able to work on those things of not being able to commit those fouls being able to set those screens without moving and being a little bit of a better beast down low and finishing those layups, then I can see a guy named Keita really stepping up and being that successful piece for the Boston Celtics. But like Brad Stevens said, there's also other names that he's got his eye on, right? They just got Luka Garza from free agency, and even though he's more of an offensive big, he likes his ability to be a ferocious beast on the glass and get those rebounds, something the Celtics will miss without Jayson Tatum. And I do think Luka Garza can help in that category. Not to mention, he brought up Amari Williams, someone that my boy Nick NBA has been super high on since the NBA draft, and he was over on CLNS Media talking with Noah Dalzell on You Got Boston, highlighting what Amari Williams can bring for this Celtics team. We already know that Amari Williams is a bigger dude, 6'11", 255 pounds, so he's going to command the paint and be a physical beast. But not only that, he's a solid passing big, something the Celtics are going to be losing with Luke Cornett and potentially Al Horford not being here next season, having that connectivity of the passing and playmaking from the guards to the big man in the post, and also being able to swing out to the corner. So having a guy like Amari Williams who can work in that low post and maybe pass out to those three-point shooters for the Boston Celtics could be something that they do utilize. And like I mentioned, the Celtics have seen some two-way guys over these last couple of seasons in Namish Keita and also J.D. Davidson rise from those two-way contracts and get guaranteed deals. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Boston Celtics look include something like that with one of their two-way guys that they have this year. We already know Amari Williams and Max Shoga will be representing the Celtics on two ways so far. It seems like Drew Peterson will not be back, but the Boston Celtics still have that opportunity for one of those guys to really rise through that occasion and really step out to be on the guaranteed roster and be an undermined gem, someone that the Celtics had investment on, similar like they got guys on in Baylor Shireman and Jordan Walsh, and that could be something very intriguing for the Boston Celtics. Like we said, they also talked about Xavier Tillman in here as well, maybe utilizing him as a 4, maybe a little bit as a backup 4 to fill in that Horford role. And like I said, when he came over here to Boston, I called him that mini Al Horford. We saw him have some shines with his three-point shot last year. It wasn't really there. It looked a little bit slower laterally moving on the court, but if he can get that lateral quickness back up, be a solid defender, and can hit those shots from the three-point range, maybe this is that baby version of Al Horford, or just that smaller version of that role for the Celtics that we do see with them losing him this year. Like I said, revolving around the Al Horford situation, it does look very unlikely that he will be back in Boston, but it is keen to keep an eye on some other things when revolving around with Brad Stevens saying in this press conference, as well as he said that they talked to the Pacers about Tyrese Halliburton's injury and asked if there's anything they could do to help after going to a similar situation with Jayson Tatum, which is very key. But Bobby Manning goes with the Brad Stevens takeaways, basically stating that Horford is most likely gone. He didn't rule out paying tax to retain the roster flexibility. Mazzulla is signed for multiple more seasons and will be locked up here for the Celtics, which is really something key to lock in on. The Celtics will likely begin the season with this roster that they have currently constructed, which leans maybe not moving off those guys in Hauser, Simons, and now Georges Niang, because those trades have now been officially finalized, and also talkings of guys like Namish Keita, and Xavier Tillman staying in this rotation kind of leads out to that. Center department is going to be run by a committee, similar to how they started last year without Kristaps Porziņģis running with those guys. Similar this year, it's going to be a little bit of a weaker committee, but it's going to be used to bolster this rotation with guys like Keita, Tillman, Amari Williams, and potential Georges Niang, and whoever else is out there. And they knew after they added Malcolm Brogdon 2 seasons ago that the money situation was going to be looming, and they had already prepared for that going into this offseason. They did talk about the trading of Kristaps Porziņģis and Jrue Holiday as well, in which Brad Stevens expressed that he felt very sad for having to let go of those players, and I completely understand why, but he obviously understood and kind of knew that with bringing those guys in, that this was going to happen eventually. So unfortunately for that in the Celtics, they had to make those moves. But like I said, we're still wondering about the center position. It does seem like Al Horford is most likely gone, and the Celtics' master plan is to run this center room by committee. So I want to know your thoughts down below in the comment section, how you guys feel on all of that news, as we then turn into the next part of the video here, which goes into the Summer League roster being revealed. And it's finally been noticed, right? The Utah Summer League, the California Summer League have already started, so teams have already been released post-draft day, and then leading up to July 4th, a lot more teams were coming up. But the Celtics were being very reserved and holding out their names and their list to today, and we finally did see it come through here. A lot of people posted this, but I got this from Adam Taylor, and from looking at this list, there are some very intriguing names here for the Celtics. Not only do the Celtics have all 3 of their draft selections this year on their Summer League roster, and Max Shoga and Amari Williams on those 2-way deals, but they did bring Hugo Gonzalez over from Real Madrid in Spain. It was a question if he was going to be playing for the Celtics Summer League team, but he is a guaranteed player to be transferring and suiting up with the squad alongside the two former first-round picks for the Boston Celtics in the previous 2 years in Jordan Walsh and Baylor Scheierman. So 5 Celtics that you will know or had some inkling of on this roster. But alongside those 5 guys, there are some people that have had some NBA level experience or G League experience that are very, very keen to keep an eye on. Kenneth Lofton Jr., who obviously has spent some time with the Grizzlies, then was with the Sixers, then was with the Delaware Bluecoats, went overseas last season. He is now trying to get back into the G League and into the NBA. He is playing with the Celtics Summer League team. Another one is Jalen Bridges from the Valley Suns, another team that I cover here over on Digest Media and in the media spaces as well for the NBA in Phoenix. He was a young piece the Suns did not give a two-way contract to, and they filled up their two-way contracts today. But obviously, Jalen Bridges, someone that a lot of Valley Suns fans wanted to see potentially get that treatment of a Neemias Queta or J.D. Davidson, working his way to a two-way and then getting a guaranteed deal, has now signed with the Boston Celtics. And the lengthy two-way wing can produce not only on the offensive side as a lengthy scorer, but also effectively as a defensive piece as well, which I really like for the Boston Celtics to maybe have for Maine as he played for the Valley Suns next year, or potentially as another two-way down the line as they could open up one of those spots for him. Not to mention, they also have another guy from the Valley Suns Summer League last year who played alongside Jalen Bridges, and that is Isaiah Wong, who has also had some run around the NBA with the Hornets and with the Indiana Pacers. He was notoriously known for being on the Miami Hurricanes team that not too long ago made a run to the Final Four, and he was their best player and all-out scorer. He's a guy who create shots off the dribble, create shots for himself, and is just a really, really lethal offensive weapon at that guard position. And if the Celtics can strike some diamonds here with the guy in Isaiah Wong, bring him to Maine or bring him on a two-way, that could be another piece that could be a diamond in the rough that the Celtics do bring out. Alongside those guys, there's a lot of other players that have played in college over this last season that are very intriguing. But with those 7 names, I do think the Celtics have a very interesting summer league team, to say the least. We saw last year a guy in Anton Watson who was drafted, signed to a two-way, was eventually waived for a guy in Miles Norris, who was then brought in on that final two-way deal. So who knows? Maybe we could see something happen with the Celtics with one of these two-way deals where one of them does get waived, or because, Miles Norris is still on that two-way, maybe they, move him or change him and bring in one of these guys from the Summer League two-way deal, or not. Maybe they stay, they go to Maine, they play for the Maine Celtics, and who knows? We get to see another dominant Maine Celtics team, similar to the last 2 seasons, competing for that Maine championship and trying to create that homegrown, undrafted talent, similar to what they did with Sam Hauser and Luke Cornett, to bring up the ranks for this year or next year to once again find those draft untapped potential pieces that could really be successful for the Celtics system and ultimately get a contract that is representative of what they bring there on the court. Hauser last year got his $10 million extension. Luke Cornett got his big payday this offseason. So clearly Brad Stevens can strike gold on these guys, and you never know. One of these names that I didn't mention, or one of the ones that I did mention, could be that nice next rising star for Boston in the next couple of seasons as one of those nice rotational pieces. So let us know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you think about the Al Horford situation? What is your thoughts on the Summer League roster? And who are you really excited for to see take part for the Boston Celtics Summer League? Because it starts on July 10th, or July 11th, on a Friday. And it's going to be very interesting to see what this team does in its first game versus the Memphis Grizzlies, who have already had some experience already in one of the California Classics. So let me know your thoughts down below. Like I said, how you guys ultimately feel about this Boston Celtics team in the latest news, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day, and go Boston Celtics. Peace out, everyone.